Welcome everyone to the City of Aspen work session. Mic's on. Mics were off. Welcome everyone to the Aspen City Council meeting of Monday, July 20th. It's 4 p.m. We are going to be discussing the Wheeler Opera House and its incredible Laugh Festival. So why don't we take it away with our staff members who are here.
Great, thank you, Mayor.
Introduce yourself for the viewing audience.
Mayor and Council, Mike Harrington, the Executive Director of the Wheeler Opera House. Thanks for giving me some time today to discuss potential expansion of the Aspen Laugh Festival beyond the walls of the Wheeler in 2027. I'll start off with just a little bit of background on the festival and what we've experienced these past couple of seasons. Just I'm not advancing here. Oh. We're all set. To advance. There we go. Okay, so just a little bit of background first to give you a sense of what we've seen these past 2 years since I've been on site and since the festival has moved to the second week of March. In 2026, we outperformed 2025, both in total tickets, total attendance, as well as average per performance. In 2025, we had a mixture of shows that took place in the vault at the Wheeler as well as on the main stage. And then in 2026, due to some operational concerns and the tight turnaround and challenges with scheduling, really, we moved away from the vault programming and did everything on the main stage. However, we did add a very informal, relaxed off-site experience, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But as you can see, the festival is certainly growing in terms of participation, and the feedback and the buzz that we generated through the 2026 festival was quite significant.
How many performances was that number of tickets divided by?
In 2026, it was 10.
It was 10.
Yeah, there were 10 full main stage performances, and then in 2025, that was 9.
That's a huge number of increase.
Yeah, it was
per performance.
We felt good about 26, for sure.
Thank you.
And 2025 featured Jerry Seinfeld, so
yeah,
we did even better without him.
Thank you.
Great. So also just give you a little bit of a sense of who is attending the Aspen Laugh Festival. These are 2026 numbers. We saw about 63% come from the local populations, including Aspen residents and those that live throughout the Roaring Fork Valley. And that is calculated based on billing zip codes from credit cards. And then that balance, so what's that, 37%, are folks that are visitors coming from other regions of Colorado or out of state. In other words, we're getting really strong. We feel good about this percentage of local population, but there's also, the festival is a high enough profile where we are pulling, and I think we will continue to pull folks from outside of the region. Maybe not to the point that it will become a destination like the Labor Day experience, but similar, still strong and popular. So in 2026, because we have a really strong and burgeoning relationship with Hotel Jerome, who functions as a hotel partner for us, and they take really good care of a lot of the artists that come to town, we worked with them to launch a pilot of what we called the Aspen Laugh Festival Late Night Lounge at Bad Harriet. And it was a free experience that took place Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think the first 4 nights of the festival. We had a mix of local artists as well as visiting acts perform as part of those lineups. It was more of a club type environment, your standard comedy club type environment. And all of the contracts for this one, there were no artists that were contracted specifically to perform off-site. So these were all kind of add-ons. If you were opening for Josh Johnson, for example, like Emily Watson did, we added that into the scope of her agreement that she would also perform at that location. We can do that to a certain degree, but it does get tricky after a while. But we also mixed in a few local performances. And again, the feedback overall was very, very strong from people that attended those. The room was packed every single night. It was a lot of locals. And feedback from the artists was just as strong. They felt like it was a wonderful opportunity for them to connect. From the local artists, it was a great opportunity for them to network with these visiting artists, kind of share tricks of the trade. And what I kept hearing from so many of the visiting artists was, hey, this feels a lot like when HBO used to produce it here, and it had more of an industry, direct industry connection, which was appealing and intriguing. So what I'm here to ask for some input on is, do we continue to strategically expand the Aspen Laugh Festival in 2027 with more intentional off-site programming, limited? Again, I want to underscore that line, strategic. We're not looking to blow it out and quadruple in size. I think we would look to add maybe 5 to 6 total performances in rooms outside of the Wheeler, including Bad Harriet, perhaps the Paul Jazz Center, perhaps other rooms at Hotel Jerome, again, as they're a strong partner of ours, or others, any other organizations that might come forward to be interested, if we felt that the venue was a good fit for the format of the artists that we were looking to invite, and helped really diversify the kinds of rooms and the kinds of experiences we were offering. What I think we would need to do, though, with this strategic expansion is intentionally contract artists for performances that are outside of the Wheeler. It's not something that we've done since I've been around, so the thought was to bring this question to all of you. We have vetted it through the city attorney's office, so there are no concerns in terms of the legality of the use of those funds with this kind of programming, but I'm looking for some guidance.
Great presentation.
Thanks.
And I think we thanked all of our staff for the great 4th of July performance. I don't know that we thanked you specifically for bringing in the Bandaloop performances at the Wheeler, but I think it really added a lot of excitement to the edge of the mall. I saw some people coming back to watch it more than once, and really good job.
Great, thank you. It was certainly a team effort.
Yeah, I'm sure. Big team. Big team. Who would like to make a comment or ask any questions first? I have a few comments myself, but if anybody else wants to go. John?
I'm all for it. I think I remember seeing a show at the St. Regis a couple decades ago, before Patton Oswalt, we even knew who he was, before he was in Ratatouille or any of that. And our festival was a pretty big deal back then.
The HBO one.
Yeah. I would love to see that return if possible, or grow ours to match the success of that. I think more laughter is always good for us.
Great.
So, yeah, I also would echo what Rachel said about Bandaloop. I saw several performances of it, and a couple of them, it was just packed. It was nearly shoulder to shoulder on the mall. So pretty cool.
I think this is a great idea. This festival has evolved in a lot of ways over the years. Been sort of a roller coaster, it feels like, some years better than others, but this feels like a natural and healthy progression of it. I was only here for 1 year of Comedy Fest, but remind me of that and the excitement and kind of activity around town. Remind me, are there passes for the weekend? Are there one-off tickets?
Yeah, at this point, for the past 2 years, we've only done one-off tickets.
Okay.
We've done a couple packages where you could see a show in the vault and a main stage show. We're continuing to explore different kind of accessibility options. With the introduction of the Wheeler Insider pricing, it has made passes a little more complicated because those prices are so significantly below the top price.
Yeah.
So we've kind of leaned into that as opposed to a pass that allows people to attend everything.
Okay. That makes sense. I don't want to solve your ticketing for you, but having I'm thinking of the June Festival experience for music and how people kind of have the ability to bop around town for that, and that's very different from this, but I think that flexibility when you're doing different sites is nice as an audience member.
It's a great idea, and I think it's certainly something we could look to introduce. Maybe it's one Wheeler show and the offsites, or some mixture. Yeah.
Great, nice, good thoughts. Sam?
Yeah, since we got time and such, I would like to just ask, I know you just did a presentation, a lot of it's answering this, but I would just like, in your words, the symbiotic relationship that this creates. Why is it good for us and why is it good for these venues sort of situation?
Yeah. Well, it's good for us because I think it helps to continue. The stronger that the brand of the Aspen Laugh Festival is in the industry, the more successful we're going to be in getting the kinds of the profile of artists that I think we're interested in having here. So that certainly helps. When it's just one room, it really just feels like a series of shows. It doesn't necessarily have a festival kind of vibe. Why is it good for these partner venues? It brings bodies. I mean, not necessarily that I'm not necessarily saying that they need the Laugh Festival to bring in these bodies. But for example, I think he would be okay with me sharing. Jim Horowitz was very interested in the notion of collaborating on some expanded programming because it will help them as an organization. It brings more people into their space, could introduce more audience members for them. And for us, again, it's kind of a rising tide theory.
Yeah, and you listed a bunch of venues like Jazz and Bad Harriet. Have you reached out to, would you say, like all the potential people, like the Belly Up and other spots, or?
No, we haven't done any kind of broad outreach, which we can do if we get direction from council that this is a direction we'd like to move, where we'd be absolutely open to, short of an RFP, because we're not necessarily looking for services, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's a reason we couldn't expand it and open it up. As long as for me, from an artistic programming point of view, it's about making sure we have the right artist in the right room.
Yeah. No, I broadly support this. Since we're sitting here, this is the work session, I just wanted to be like, I don't really see much downside, but the downside I could see would be other private sector vendors maybe getting upset about this, because I remember when we talked about other things, they were potentially could be upset about the Wheeler undercutting their business. And I mean, that's just the value I would take with you as far as this sounds like a great idea. Just do your best not to undercut unethically other businesses as you do it.
Or ethically, we don't want to undercut anybody.
No, but
I try not to do
they
anything
go
unethical.
hand in hand, but I just feel like it needs to be said as far as like, yeah, you're using taxpayer dollars to potentially subsidize something that might now be at a private venue. I think it's great for the community and great for these venues. I think the only negative I could really think of, like I said, is undercutting other businesses here. And if you're more or less not doing that, then this is going to be successful.
Sure.
Yeah, you bring up a really great point, because think about it as more than this 1 year going forward. You might want to develop with the Wheeler board some sort of criteria if they have to turn people down, so that you're not, that it's not seeming biased, as Sam is asking. I think, when you look at the Commercial Core and Lodging Commission and they have to sort through which people get in and which people don't get in the farmer's market in the summer, it's the same sort of thing. You want to have a real clear reason for why you've said no. It's not like you're putting out an RFP and you're judging people on that, but it may be in the future and after this work session or the coverage of it, a few people will approach you who you haven't seen before. So I would just say work with the right parties in the city to make sure you have a defensible stance to be able to say this is why we're allocating it to these three and why we've turned these two down. That Belly Up's a great venue, but I can imagine if you didn't have somebody who filled it pretty much, it would be a terrible venue, so it's all different. Was that all?
Yep,
Okay.
that's all I had. Thank you.
Great. Well, I also have really enjoyed the comedy festival. I'm not sure I've hit the exact performers in this current sequence, but I enjoyed the Paula Poundstone show tremendously earlier with my husband, and we liked that quite a bit. And years back, they had Lewis Black, and he was hysterical. Now, I heard afterwards from some Wheeler that, well, there are some people who didn't like him because he's so political, and they didn't like him. And I want to make sure that we aren't using some sort of cutoff of, oh, we only keep everything up here in light, and that anybody who's a little more cutting or controversial is not even booked. I think it sold fairly well, as far as I could tell. But anyhow, I just don't want to have any sort of invisible barrier to the type of comedians we get. Patton Oswalt, I saw him perform at the National Association of Counties in DC for all the counties of the world come over, because he kind of equally made fun of both sides of the political spectrum. And it was a really great hysterical performance. But again, there were a few like, oh, I didn't like it when it said this. And it's like, well, wait a second, you're in a show. It's not all going to be sanitized for your taste or a certain taste. So anyhow, I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that I really want to make sure we're going with a broad spectrum and not having any invisible black balls thrown in different comedians' pots when they're available. I think that this is a great program because it's really encouraged a spark of comedy throughout the valley. If you look at the presentations and comedians and locals who perform up in Snowmass or down Tikal or things like this. So I think this is absolutely fabulous. And I was around back when it was the original Comedy Fest. I think the first year, I don't know if they had HBO sponsorship or they got it later, and it went on for a while. And I saw Chris Rock talking about comedy in an interview setting at the basement of the Wheeler. And so what you've kind of said might happen as it continues to evolve, of having a little more industry workshops and interviews with comedians as opposed to them just performing. It was more talking about how do you get started and what's the industry like and things like that. So I really, really look forward to that. I will say that back at that time period, I was doing my advertising distribution with Aspen Activity Center, and that Comedy Fest came up with a different set of flyers to put out every day in stacks because they were changing locations, and this one's just added, and things like this. It was the most massive waste of paper I'd ever seen in my life. With, purple ones and orange ones and green ones, and I'm trying to stack them up neatly at some little hotel lobby so they could see all these. Let's just make sure. I know you wouldn't do anything like that, but that's like my biggest memory of that. It was so, they call, we just printed a new one, can you come by and get it? It's like, phew, you're gonna go back to another 800 locations today? No, I'll do that tomorrow. So the final line for me would be that I want to kind of track the budgeting on this. And I know you do that across all your performances and things you're bringing in. And the memo mentioned that there would be shared expenses. And so I'm willing to trust your judgment on how those are shared, but I think we'll want to break down after the fact to see what the difference has been. Sure. And, if a person's performing at two different places in the Wheeler, who helps share the lodging fee for that person, or the contracted fee for them. I'm just going to say, let's understand what expenses mean, and so that there's no add-ons later for them or for us, and see how the budgeting goes with supporting this at what level. I'm okay with it, but let's make sure we track it, and so then future councils can look at this and say, yeah, it was a success and well worth the money.
Sure. Can I ask a clarifying question there?
Yeah, please.
So at this point, the initial thought, and this is fairly standard with co-presentations, is that the Wheeler would hold the contract with the artist and be responsible for the artist's needs, so that
Yes.
payment, lodging, et cetera. The venue partner would be responsible for their venue expenses, and then there would be some calculated pro rata share of the box office based on how that split of expenses worked out. That's the initial approach. It still could mean in the end that that there is a
Limited box office return versus the cost of the expense.
right. So there might be a nominal subsidy. So I just want to make sure that it's clear here that you all are okay that there might be a subsidy and that we're not necessarily creating this to be a financial gain.
Right. I am okay with it not being a profit center. I'm okay with it being subsidized. I just think we should keep a good track of that so that we don't find ourselves later or future council saying, oh, we have to do Comedy Fest again. It's only costing us $500,000 a year now,
Sure.
that type of thing, that it doesn't grow beyond, and that terms like expenses are just kind of clearly outlined so that it's a little generic term in our memo, that there'll be shared expenses. And I assume some would be shared, some wouldn't, and sharing the box office. So that's all. We're just, as you are watching Wheeler Fund, so do we, and so does the public, to say how do we maximize the benefit and ensure the longevity of it.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, great. Any other questions? I think you have a nod of the heads to go forward with this proposal.
All right,
You can't
wonderful.
take formal votes. It's not a regular meeting.
And the award for shortest work session.
There you go.
Yes, there you
Thank
go.
you. Great.
That's
Thank
a
you
big
all.
one. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hey, by the way, what days of the week or the month are your Wheeler Board meetings?
They're the second Wednesday of every month.
Thank you.
I think we start at 3 o'clock.
I will apologize, I really haven't made one of those just to sit in on the side, but I've been meaning to, but the work's been going so well. What's there to say? I just like to let them know I care.
Great. I'm sure they'd love to see you. Sorry.